Neurons play an incredibly important role in regulating the flow of information throughout the body. At this point, the action potential is traveling through the neuron, skipping over the areas of the axon that are covered in a myelin sheath.
As the action potential jumps from node to node in between the myelinated sheaths, it goes through saltatory conduction. Neurons are supported by cells called glial cells. These cells surround the neurons and hold them in place and can also supply nutrients and oxygen to neurons.
Now let's take a closer look at the axon. This is the key for the next diagram, where green pipe cleaners represent a potassium ion channel, the purple represent a sodium ion channel, and the orange represent a sodium-potassium pump. Sodium ions are represented by the purple stars, and potassium ions are represented by the green stars. To create the resting potential, a sodium-potassium pump transports sodium out of the cell and potassium into the cell through active transport. Right now, the inside of the cell is negative and the outside is positive. Once stimulated, a few sodium ion channels are open, promoting an influx of sodium into the cell. Once enough sodium ions have entered the cell, this depolarization opens the rest of the sodium ions, causing the inside of the cell to become positive and the outside to become negative. Later on, potassium ion channels open, allowing potassium to flow out of the cell. This loss of potassium inside of the cell causes it to become negative again, while the outside becomes positive. This next key includes the structures that are present in a chemical synapse. Due to the action potential, the membrane depolarizes and opens up the voltage-gated calcium ion channel. Calcium enters into the presynaptic membrane. Currently, neurotransmitters are contained within vesicles. This increase in calcium signals the vesicles to bind to the membrane. The neurotransmitters leave the vesicles and bind to the ligand-gated ion channels after passing through the synaptic cleft. After this, sodium ions and potassium ions are able to diffuse in and out of the postsynaptic membrane, triggering another signal.
Neurons that receive information and transmit it to the central nervous system are called afferent neurons, whereas neurons that send impulses from the central nervous system to other body parts are called efferent neurons.